Hi, and welcome to my channel. This is the astrology highlights for the rest of the month of January 2026. Um, and yeah, so let's get into it. Now, first I'll just mention for those who may not have seen this before, on the left here you'll see tropical, which is the what's popularized in the mainstream, but it's going by the seasons. And everything's exactly 30 degrees. But over here is Topocentric True Sidereal, and that actually goes by the size, the actual size of each constellation, and it includes the constellation of Ophiuchus. This is the one that where you'll see the placements, where the actual placements are if you were to look through a telescope. So that's what this system is. And Vedic go by sidereal as well. Um, but yeah, so tropical chop the sky up pretty much and go by the seasons, which is again, like I said, not the actual true placements. But anyway, so I'm still showing the difference, is what I'm trying to say, because sometimes it will be in the same, sometimes it'll turn out that both of them will have the same sign, but it'll be different degrees. Like one will be at the start and another one might be at the end, especially when we're looking at the constellation of, say, Virgo or Pisces, which is pretty huge compared to others, and even Sag, and Taurus and Leo, you know. But anyway, so let's get going with this. Now, um, as I mentioned in my Kazemi video that's right before this one, it's came out a couple of weeks ago, I think now. But yeah, I was talking about the Kasimi that happened right at the tail end of December last year, 2025. Um, and the difference with the energies, like I was talking about the energies insofar as the new moon type energies. And I briefly touched on the difference that will happen moving towards the full moon, which obviously by now has passed. What I want to say about that is the how it played out on the world stage was very different in terms of, with a full moon, we're looking at making changes and adjustments and ending things, putting an end to things. And on the world stage, that's precisely what happened on or around the full moon. I think, was it third or fourth or something like that? Um, yeah, with the political arena, there were, if you're not, I think most of you are sort of aware of what went down, and everyone has different opinions about that. And yeah, I think most of us are sort of a little concerned about it. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that the Kazemi had a different energy at the full moon, and something was aggressively closed down, shut down, ended. And a Kazemi will have, it'll be big changes that can last quite a while, you know. Um, So I guess that's all I want to say about that, because obviously the full moon's passed. But what I'm just mentioning it for is that that's how it played out on the world stage. And there may have, you may even be able to look back and in your own personal experience and see what might have been going on for you, and if there was any decisions or any big changes or information that came up that requires things to be looked into and changed and that sort of thing, because we've got a retrograde right here, Jupiter retrograde. So looking at taking a second look at things, what we're trying to expand or what we're trying to contract, because it can be either way, right? And that's in, I always do this, and that's in Gemini at the moment. But yeah, Jupiter's retrograde in Gemini. Now we're talking about the new moon, so of course this is new moon energy, bringing new things in. Now we'd all like to think that new things would be a great thing. For some, it could be, but for some, a new thing might actually not be great. Um, but of course, invariably, when we bring something in new, then as the moon moves around again, then we get closer to having to then the next phase make adjustments and changes to anything new that's come in, get used to it. The whatever new came in or whatever was decided on. Now, it says Capricorn here, but as you can see, if you look, there's that little black line because not everything can fit in, and the same over here. So sometimes it looks like it's in a sign when it's really not. Um, if you get what I mean, because see how some of I'll get that back. See how on the tropical side, some of that's saying Capricorn and some of it's saying Aquarius, um, and yet it's in the same sort of. I think you get what I mean anyway. It's just that it can't all fit in because the degrees are at a specific spot and all this sort of so even though it's showing Capricorn there and there's the new moon, it's not actually in Capricorn because it's over here, the little dots over here. Um, so yeah, it's Sag, very tail end of Sag. Um, because literally I think I looked at it and like later in the day, like in the evening, it moves into Capricorn if I've got that correct. So it's really on the cusp, you could say, um, the new moon on the cusp of Sag and Cap. Um, and yeah, we've got Mercury now moving closer to the sun and moon. Um, so that's also because the Cazimi, as you can see, it's sort of moved away, and now we're moving into darker new moon energy. So we're looking at the sowing the seeds, putting the seeds in under the ground in the dirt. What new are we bringing in? Now there is, as you can see, a T square, and I'm so bad at drawing, it's not even funny. Which is ironic because I've got artists through my family line, but it skipped me. um, yeah, I am no good at drawing or painting or any of those physical arts like that. But anyway, yeah, so we've got the T square happening, but it's not like if you've watched these before, it's not really dark. You know how it can be really dark red. This is looking like it's quite light. So it's a challenge. It's there is a measure of difficulty. We've got Chiron still in Pisces as part of the T square and retrograde Jupiter in Gemini. So reassessing how we communicate, um, which you know can help or make things more difficult with our healing of our wounds. Um, Now, also, we've got, because see how there's the double lines as well. So we have the Mercury and Mars conjunct there in Sag, and but then also Mercury is only a couple of degrees away from the Sun. Um, So technically it would be a cazimi going on, but because it's new moon energy, there's this dark underneath aspect, if that makes sense, sort of things looking deeper into things, maybe. I don't know if saying things hidden is I don't think it's so much that because we do, even though we have Neptune in Pisces, so you could look at the negative hidden enemies and what's hidden, what's not really fully shown. Um, because it's new moon energy, I feel like it's not really a negative thing. It may be that we may feel the need to um, not show all our cards, so to speak, because Saturn's also having a seriousness to it, to um, the need to not give all the information for some reason. Um, Maybe there's certain things because see, this is we've got trines and sextiles going on here, which connect to Mars and Mercury communicating. Um, so it's looking like good energy in insofar as how you may have some sort of idea or something you're working on, um, and coming out too soon with it and saying, "Oh, I'm doing X, Y, Z," then someone else can either take that idea ahead of you, and then you've lost your chance, um, or someone can sort of say something that may then have you talking yourself out of it. That sort of thing can happen. But because, again, like I said, it's new moon energy and Mercury's smack bang near the new moon, communication is going to be um, a big thing. Communicating freedom, communicating about all the Sagittarius things like travel, long distance, like it could be communicating because there's communicate a lot of communication. Like we've got um, Mercury, which is the ruling planet of Gemini and Virgo, but we're looking at Gemini at this point. Um, and also, ironically, the ruling planet of Sag is over here in Gemini. So they're actually opposing each other. So there's that sort of the rulers of the opposite signs are opposing their own sign, if that makes sense. So there's sort of this way of, excuse my pet, but yeah, he's going to do that anyway. Um, so there's this sort of, even though it's opposing, it's balancing the opposites. Um, but yeah, I think there's some sort of aspect going on where there's a need to communicate. Now, this could be working on something that you want to communicate, not necessarily that you communicate about it then and there, because there's this hidden aspect here that's working for goods, because the blue is always good aspects, trines and sextiles. So there may be a little bit of a need to be a bit sort of hush hush initially about what you're doing so that you have all your ducks in a row when you're ready to bring it forward, so to speak. Now, a T square is often, you know, quite harsh. Um, but again, I say that it's not dark, really, like see how the blue lines are darker? So this, to me, this is telling me that this is sort of balancing things out. This is soothing things or smoothing things over in a sense. Um, but so the Sagittarius themes, it could be, and it depends also what house it's going to hit, because over here, Sag is traversing both the 12th and the 1st over here, but it could be the 7th and 8th somewhere else and the 3rd and 4th somewhere else, depending on where you're located. It could be anywhere. Um, and the house will also have an added flavor to what the energies might be working around, I want to say. Um, so yeah, so the themes of, I seem to be jumping around. I'm sort of trying to get used to all this again because I took time off and all that. Um, but yeah, so I'm sort of sorry if I'm jumping back forward, back forward. I'm trying to sort of get this in an understandable way. But yeah, so Sagittarius themes, like we've got the long distance travel, um, and that could be either physical travel or it could be the internet, because again, see, Gemini is very communicative and can be about the internet. Mercury, communication, the ruler of the Gemini sign. So again, there's this a lot of, because most of us communicate a hell of a lot through the internet these days, so it's kind of um, no surprise that that might be the case. So we've got things like long distance travel, which could be about internet or physical travel, like aeroplanes, going on a cruise. I guess long distance train travel, maybe even. I'm not sure, maybe, but it can also cover philosophy, religious belief systems, organized religion, um, philosophical viewpoints that may or may not touch on religion, as it were. Um, what else are we talking about? About freedom, higher learning, education, like universities, colleges, that sort of like, you know, studying some sort of skill, uh, um, vocation, I think is the word. Yeah, that sort of thing. So all those things get taken into account, right? And how, what you're wanting to communicate with this new moon energy. So it's reassessing something. So maybe, I think I might have touched on this previously, but maybe it could be reassessing something you're studying, or reassessing um, a travel itinerary, physical travel, or reassessing how you're going to communicate something over the internet. Um, that sort of thing can be the case because, as I said, retrograde, we're looking at adjustments and changes in that sense. Um, but not so much like the full moon in that things have to be ended or closed out and that sort of thing. But yeah, there's definitely a reassessment of something. And this could also touch on, like I was saying just before, reassessing, not saying what we're working on or what we're wanting to bring forward or the new that we're wanting to bring, or what, or so sometimes it could be something like a surprise for someone that you don't want to tell them, because if you tell them, it's like you know, having a wrapped gift, handing the person the wrapped gift and saying it's this before they open it, So, you don't want to be messing up that surprise, I guess you could say, so to speak. So, yeah, hopefully I'm making sense, but there's some sort of energy with Chiron, though, with a need to heal something. Now, here, this could be, like I said, about the playing out on the world stage of what happened on the full moon, or around, I think it was either on or around, it was either the day after or right on that day of the full moon. So it was during the Cazimi energy, which had changed over to full moon energy, if that makes sense. Like I was, well, if you sort of were following, if I really hope I'm articulating this well enough, but anyway, let's keep going. Um, so we've got the T square with Mars taking action, communicating, reassessing how we communicate and how it helps or hinders, perhaps. Because even though it's a new moon, this is the whole point. We're looking at reassessing how we communicate about something that has something to do with healing. and whether it's perhaps harmful, something's being communicated that was harmful, and the need to look at healing the wounds from that communication, or looking at how we're communicating so that we can be perhaps more healing with a certain thing, or that we can look at healing ourselves in some way by communicating, um, or opening lines of communication, even in some way like that. The Sagittarius is Jupiter ruled expansion, the wider world, opening ourselves more to the world. It could be something like that coming through, but suffice to say that there's a real emphasis on communication, because it's only like a few degrees out, from the new moon, Mercury, and Mercury will then obviously move closer to the new moon, even though um, it will have happened already, if that makes sense, as we go further. But what I'm saying is that Mercury will, well, Mercury will pass over the sun and the moon. Maybe not. Um, but yeah, because the moon's moving faster. Um, but yeah, what I'm meaning is that it will get closer, which means it will have more of an emphasis. Because, like, the new moon, obviously on the 19th, it's not just for a few days, it still moves that energy through to the following, um, for the 2 weeks leading up to the next full moon, whatever sign that's going to be in. Um, and so it starts to show the moon again, obviously, because there's different phases. Um, so we'll start to see the moon coming out again, and getting bigger, and brighter, and so forth. Um, but yeah, so Mercury will move through the new moon energy, if that makes sense, um, and be closer to the sun. And so that will also make a difference with communicating. Um, it'll have, but there'll be more masculine energy, but more about creativity, because the sun is the ruling planet of Leo. So there's going to be more emphasis on perhaps being creative with how we communicate, and and perhaps have a more healing way to communicate, or communicate something that then helps us with our healing, whether that's personally or helping someone else with it, their healing. Because again, the houses are going to be different, for each of the signs as well. Because somewhere else, Sag might be in the fourth house, so there'll be that home family vibe, communicating with the home family. For instance, it's over here, not in the fourth house, as you see. Fourth house is over here. Um, but yeah, that's just an example. But yeah, so I think, although yeah, is a T square, I still think it's not um, as strong. I think this is the stronger energy here. The trines and the sextiles, which are always so much easier. They're not difficult, tough aspects to deal with. And I think this could be about taking action, communicating something about healing, whether it's to do with yourself or someone else. And there may be the need to keep quiet about something or certain aspects, because it may be detrimental to. It's not about lying and deceiving someone. It's about um, just perhaps keeping some things a bit. What is the word for it? Or keeping mum about it, or something like that. Just sort of not handing out all of the information if it's um what do I want to say? Because if it is about someone else's healing in some way, sometimes if you give everything, like if you give all the information about something, like I said about gift wrapping, not gift wrapping, unwrapping a gift versus telling them what it is while it's still wrapped, kind of thing. Um, Sometimes not not saying something actually works better for everyone included, whether it's yourself or someone else that's needing healing, by sort of not omitting, but I think it's more of a hold back at this point kind of thing. Hold back certain information because it might change the trajectory, especially if you are dealing with someone else and their um their perception of healing, or if there's been some sort of thing there might be some sort of trigger, for instance, that could happen by not holding back and by saying, oh, all of the things, you know, to do with this is this, that, and the other. And then the person gets spooked and goes, oh, that's too much, you know. So in that sense, it might be good. Uh, I mean, I'm thinking politics now. I mean, they always withhold information, don't they? You know, it's just a thing. But if it's, world stage, it's obviously going to work in their favor to withhold information. This might then move through to the next full moon phase, and we may find out what they've held back by then. Like I said, bringing in the new isn't always um, skipping through the daffodils and everything's great and fine and new is really good. Sometimes new could not be that great, or it can be detrimental, depending on what viewpoint you have or what your circumstances are, So there could be that. I hope not. Um, but yeah, this is I think how we can work with these energies with the new moon. If we've got something, for something that we're wanting to work on, something that we're wanting to make a change with, don't play all your cards. I pretty much want to say, don't play all your cards at the start before you've even um, got the before it's grown legs, so to speak, I guess. Um, yeah, so I think about, I mean, don't be at the same time, don't be too secretive and like in the negative side of it and withholding information that is important. I'm not saying that, but if it's something that may be triggering or make things more difficult for someone else, or by them by letting others know, it might be more difficult for you by giving all the information, that sort of thing. As long as we're not being deceitful and dishonest, then we can work with these aspects in our favor, So I think it's about communicating and looking at how we're communicating about certain things, taking action on that, um, but not not showing our hand with absolutely everything straight away, so that it can be more healing overall in the long run, perhaps for ourselves and others, perhaps. Hopefully that makes sense. And again, I've done the same thing. Yeah, I forgot to draw it up on tropical. Sorry for those of you from the tropical camp. Um, but yeah, it was moon over here. What else was Jupiter, the T square? Um, but yeah, I'm not going to talk about the how it would play out with those signs, because it's not in those signs. It's not what the telescope shows us. So it's sort of like it's going to, and the video would go on too long if that was the case too. So it's sort of, you know, it's going to be too confusing, is what I'm trying to say if I sort of go back forward, back forward. So this is to show what tropical shows and to follow along with how things might play out and how things have played out. Like I said, with the full moon energy and the Kazemi and what happened back then. Yeah, so oh, what else was I going to say about that? Yeah, so it's to show what tropical is saying versus what this true sidereal is saying, and making your own opinion. Because yes, I've got an opinion, and I may come across opinionated, but I'm just passionate about certain things. I guess I want to put it that way, and to me, I like accurate details, or the most accurate details, if you want to sort of put it in an argument form that way. Um, but yeah, so anyway, I think that's all I can say with the new moon energy. We do have Uranus. I didn't touch on Uranus, which is forming part of that triangle shape. So again, looking at ways what we value, Uranus in Taurus, what we value, taking another look at what we value and taking action to communicate about that as well. So again, value, healing, how we communicate, reassessing that. Um, yeah, I don't know if I made sense with that, but hopefully I did. Let's move on to the next chart. So now we've got the 22nd. You might hear, I don't know, you may hear birds outside because uh, there's some kookaburras and there might be cockatoos too. The cockatoos get pretty loud. But anyway, so if you hear that, yeah, well, I can't really do much about it. Just got to get this done. Yeah, so this one is Moon trine Jupiter retrograde. So trine is a good thing, and as you can see, again, because the blue is the one that stands out more, this is dissipating here. But yeah, so we've got the moon in Aquarius now. See, the moon's moved into Aquarius, and that's terrible drawing. Let's go again. Moon's in Aquarius and near the North Node too. Wait, again, what, what? Yeah, well, it's 3 degrees away from the North Node. Look, I'm just gonna, it's in Aquarius. Um, and over here, because I'm trying to remember to do this. So tropical will be saying it's in Pisces, but it's in Aquarius. And the North Node is very near there now. Um, not not an eclipse because it was like you saw in the chart before anyway. But the North Node, so maybe on the 21st, the moon might have passed over the North Node. So that might be significant too. But for some reason, I was guided to do this date instead. So I don't know. But yeah, so we've got the trine happening with Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. So again, we're reassessing communication and whether it's expanding on it or the need to review and pull back on it, so to speak. So with a retrograde, it could go either way, excess one way or the other, too much or too little. So we need to assess that. but there's a trine. So the moon meaning emotional, what we perceive we need to feel safe. And this is now groups and communities. And there's a north node here. So there's the opening, even though it's okay, whatever. There's the opportunity to um follow her follow our north node, to jump into our north node, to assess the way we communicate within groups, social circles, um, perhaps even how we communicate manifestation, like of our hopes, wishes, dreams, because like the 11th house, it is Aquarius energy. Um, So that's part of the Aquarian theme, and moving towards our North Node, that's what we're supposed to be all doing, you know. And there's an emotional aspect to it. And here I think Jupiter's giving us that opening to assess how we perhaps emote within friendships, groups, social circles, because that is Aquarius. Again, the house will tell you something as well, depending on where you're located. So not everyone's going to have ninth house in Aquarius unless you're over here. Um, but yeah, so yeah, I think it's either, finding a balance because there's a trine. So this is easy energy. It's an easy aspect. It's go with the flow. Sextiles are an opportunity. Trines, um, it's uh well, it is opportunity, yes, but it's not, how do I put it, we can tend to be a little more lazier with trines, in that we either choose or don't choose to work with that energy, so to speak, that there's not any, oh, everything's going to be really harsh and everything, because look, these squares are so light now that that any challenge with Chiron and Mars is not really going to be so accentuated, so powerful. But there's going to be a little bit of an undercurrent there, but it's not going to be difficult to deal with because the strongest one is these sextiles and the trines. So this is really good, easygoing energy, I think, where we can assess how we're emotionally dealing or emotionally communicating within our friendships, groups, social circles. It's an opening to reassess that and take a good look at how we can perhaps improve on that, whether we're too emotional or not emotional enough, and a way to balance, or it could be not so much about whether or not we're too emotional or not emotional enough. It could simply be about being open to um, listening to how others feel about certain things. Perhaps because it's friendships, groups, social circles, so it's about how we're dealing with other people in those specific uh, groups, communities, groups. Um, And again, this could be online as well, the emotional aspect. And with being so close to the North Node as well, this is something that we can look at in a way that can move us further ahead and get us in our North Node energy, if that makes sense, to sort of reassess again how we're communicating or what we're communicating about, you know? as as I talk about communicating, and throat chakra starts going. But yeah, and again, I've missed the stupid mouse. Come on. Yeah, so over here, tropical saying it's in Cancer. Again, like I say, um, look at the energies, because here, tropical saying it's in Cancer, right? So it'd be about home, family, right, and creature comforts, and feeling safe. It could, um, what else? Like home security, things around the home. Now, here's the thing. For someone, Gemini, some other place Gemini may be in the fourth house, and there's your Cancerian energy, if it's there. But did I say Gemini? I meant Jupiter. Oh, yeah, no, Gemini. Um, Gemini may be covered by the fourth house. And so there you've got your Cancerian energy rather than Jupiter being in Cancer. Sorry, I was confusing myself. I was right the first time. But yeah. So I always say, like how I mentioned about the situation that went on with the full moon, or around the full moon, um, on the world stage. And again, you can look at what went on for you personally or anyone you know, if some sort of new information came up around that time, or if there was some sort of talk about the need to decide a certain thing, or if there was a certain theme, a certain topic that came up covering the idea of making adjustments, changes, or closing a cycle out that may have been toxic, even that sort of thing may have been in your own personal experience with the previous full moon. See, this is where I'm saying it's not just what happens on the world stage. This is how we can ourselves use these energies personally, you know? And so this is where doing a little, I was going to say doing a little research, but just keeping your eye out. Okay, this one's saying it's Cancerian and Pisces energy. So what are the themes of those and what's actually happening, as opposed to the themes here saying true sidereal, where the actual telescope will tell you is where things are placed. The difference. What is playing out? What are the actual themes? What would the themes specifically cover in terms of which sign, Because they can be very, very different, home, family versus communication, for instance. And friendships, groups, social circles, as opposed to, you know, um, hidden enemies. Well, it's not hidden enemies because, well, it is. Sorry, beg your pardon. Pisces is, but what I'm meaning is because it's new moon energy that we've passed through. It's more likely going to be things like, I guess the good side of things. It would be like psychic ability, ESP, art, that sort of thing. Is that what's going on? And if it is, it may actually be more that Aquarius is in your 12th, because there will still be the hint of friendship group, social circles. So you've really got to sort of assess what really is going on, and what's really playing out, as opposed to what's being told to you. Question everything. And that's why I also say, to use your own discernment, so to speak, and see for yourself what's playing out, what truly is each sign showing you at that time, what's really playing out, and what yeah, I think I'm going over and over, but yeah, sort of using your own discernment, doing a little, in that sense, doing a little bit of research, sort of taking note. XYZ happened. So this would really be the themes of this sign, and so on and so forth, and what house it is covering at the time. And, giving yourself that information to work around what actually happened, or is going, or is happening, or, you know, um, uh, I don't know if I'm articulating it well enough, but hopefully you're getting it. Hopefully I'm getting it out clear enough. It's making sense to me. I hope it's making sense to someone besides me. But yeah, anyway, let's get moving. I think that we've covered that, because this is an easy day. I would say, I mean, there is a little undercurrent of the light squares, partial squares to Chiron, with Mars and retrograde Jupiter. But I think that with the trine and the sextiles are the strongest there. Um, so yeah, so I think I've covered everything. I mean, there's a sextile. I think I already mentioned that in the other one with the Saturn, Neptune with Mars and Mercury and so forth. And look, Mercury's already past the sun by then too, because now he's 2 degrees of Cap and the sun's 1 degree. So again, there's this emphasis on communication still. Um, anyway, I'm gonna push through. Sorry, I hope I'm not coughing into the microphone, but I'm trying not to. Yes, so let's move on to the next chart, which is Moon square Venus and Mercury. So this one not as easy. So here we have tropical saying the moon is in Taurus. Over here, though, we've got the moon in Aries. And I've mentioned Aries moons before, and yeah, I mean, there is the idea that this is, after all, after a new moon. So we would hope that there might be action taken, passionate me. Yeah, because see, this is because now we're in Aries, see, the moon's in Aries, what I need to feel safe, what I perceive I need to feel safe. Me. Because Aries is the first out of the gate, that's where you find your rising sign, see, in the Aries house. So we've got a couple of squares here, and they seem to be, oh, well, as I've written, the main culprits here. So we've got Venus and Mercury here, now in Capricorn. So that's there. So communicating what we value. Oh, yeah. And now Mercury's moved, like, see how it's now conjunct the sun because it's now 3 degrees away. Uh, and it's 2 degrees away from Venus. So it's sort of Mercury and Venus are sort of mingling more so than Sun and Mercury, but they're all conjunct because they're all now in Cap. And even Mars is now in Cap in 1 degree, right near Pluto, by the way. And there's the red as well, but it's very light, so it hasn't really come into play in terms of being really difficult at this point. Um, but yeah, so the main culprits are um, communicating. Now we've got the communication planet in Capricorn, so it's going to be, uh, oh, damn. I'm getting stern communication, some kind of uh, stern seriousness, serious, communicating ambition, career ambition, getting organized, getting your ducks in a row. It's sort of Capricorn and Virgo are kind of similar. Virgo is more detail. Um, but yeah, this is communicating values, but we've got the aggressive me, moon in Aries. Now, this is these houses are over here. Hmm. Oh, yes. Oh, okay. I'm picking up something that may happen over here. Um, it might not be negative, but it's something about communicating values. And over here, for instance, it's the 11th house, so friendships, groups, social circles. groups of people, aggressive action about safety, uh, communicating what we value, the serious communication about it. This actually could be a good thing, actually. This is sort of, I'm sorry, I'm sort of going on a bit of a tangent here. I'm not really explaining it very well at this point. What I'm getting is what happened before Christmas last year that, how do I want to put it? There was an event that was Sagittarius themed, like a religious event that was in an open area where, well, at a beach. Um, and this might be because of friendships, groups, social circles being the 11th house, right? The taking action about the need for safety, my group needs safety kind of thing. Um, and how, communicating what we value, communicating the value, communicating uh, the need for value, for valuing safety. Um, this is sort of the political arena I'm touching on here. So that happened actually over here. Some of you might know, but it was a certain time frame before Christmas. It was a celebration that turned out to be a horror nightmare kind of thing for many people who were celebrating their religious belief systems. Um, yeah. So over here, see, because this is the eighth house, shared resources. So government might be working something out with them somehow in that sense so that there can be a measure of safety. So it might be a good thing because it's now in, as I said, with the idea of the new moon energy, right? That we're still passing through that. It dissipates, yeah, because I think this is heading to first quarter, actually. Yeah, first quarter square. Um, and so it's heading towards the full moon. So the moon's starting to show again, but it's not full moon. So it's still, that new moon energy, even though it's not right smack bang in the first few days of the new moon, it's still having that sort of theme, that sort of energy to it. So this could be a good thing. Um, so yes, sure, I'm explaining how it might play out over here, but this is where you yourselves can look at the Capricorn versus the me moon. What do I need to feel safe? And this could be, a serious look at communicating what you value in order to feel safe, or um, keeping safe what you value, and the houses, wherever the houses might drop for these signs for you, will also add to that theme. So yes, it's a square, but it's also, um, I've often said in my card readings anyway, that the first quarter square, yes, it's a challenge, but it's easier than the third quarter square because the third quarter square is directly after or a week after the full moon, whereas this is a week after the new moon. So there's different energies. So it's a challenge, but it's not necessarily a difficult challenge. It's something that, yes, you have to make an effort to get something done or communicate this energy to your favor or to the favor of those you care about, what's important to you, what you value, and the safety of it, you know. And that, like I said, there will also be an added flavor too, wherever the houses hit those signs for you, wherever you're from. Um, I don't think there's much else I want to point out there because I think I already covered these things because these different aspects before. And like I said earlier as well, they're not as strong as they were in the last chart because they're dissipating. It's what happens. Uh, I've done it again. Sorry. I'll just quickly try. Because I said that in the start that I get like that, that I get drawn into this one and then forget that, those following tropical are sort of not, so sorry about that. But yeah, again, look at the themes. Is it fiery? Taurus, if you look up the definition of Taurus, it's not in your face, fiery, aggressive. And yet you'll see that sort of thing when tropical is in there because it's not Taurus that it's in, it's actually Aries. But yeah, again, the themes. Because over here specifically, I touched on the 11th house Aquarius themes because over here it'll be in the 11th, the 8th, and the 11th. But Aquarius, unless you're over here with the 8th and the 11th, and still there's no Taurus energy here anyway. But yeah, again, as I keep saying, look to what's actually specifically playing out or the energies of what's going on. Take a really honest look at what the theme really is and what sort of sign it's sort of showing. What sign is the energy showing us, Um, is it really Aquarius or is it more serious Capricorn and aggressive me first sort of energy? Because Taurus isn't me first. Taurus is more about the luxuries and the physical and all that sort of thing. Um, yeah, and the money side of things as well, that sort of thing. Values, yeah. But we've got Venus in Cap, so there's your Taurus theme in that sense, if you want to argue that. But yeah, it's really a matter of really knuckling down and going, okay, XYZ is happening. What would the themes really indicate? You know, which signs would they actually indicate with what's going on? Um, yeah, so I think it's communicating, either keeping something or someone you value in safety or feeling safe about communicating about what you value or who you value. But the Capricorn sort of maybe the ambitious side of it, what you're ambitious about, the valuing that and your need to express that, express the ambition you have for something that you value, you know? Okay, next chart. Right, so we have Moon trine Virgo, I was going to say. I don't know why. Moon trine Venus and Mercury. And here we've got trines again, which is good. So this is like nearly a week later. And again, now we've got Moon in Taurus. Our values, our bag, even our money. And Uranus in Taurus, retrograde, was the idea of looking within, taking a look at breaking up and shaking up certain things or being more individualistic, perhaps, the only planet that's on its side, pretty individual. But yeah, so emotional, what we feel we need to keep our finances safe, maybe. Now, well, there's a whole bunch of trines really, but the strongest ones are Venus and Mercury over here. The sun's also in the picture as well here too. So because the lighter ones are the Mars, and Mars has passed over Pluto's too. So I would say that that would probably be intense as well when Mars passes Pluto. So I don't know when that might have been, like 26th or 27th maybe. Or well, 27th because we did the 26th. Because also I didn't say it because I didn't want to get too much about what goes on over here, but it was just examples. Because on the 26th over here is Australia Day, as we call it. And so um, certain things also like I think they still do it where they'll do Australian of the Year or something like that. There may be something like that that happens as well that will sort of you know the they might bring up that sort of thing as well on that date, that sort of thing. Or there might be some sort of thing spoken about, or maybe even some sort of campaign or something, maybe um, about, you know, what went on, as I was saying before, about the political side of things. Um, so we've got Venus and Mercury over here, but again, it's sort of trying to fit in everything. See, we've got, there it is there, 12 degrees. And that's 13 degrees, actually. So 13 of Taurus, and these two are at 12. So, that's interesting as well, that they're nearly the same degrees in different signs. Um, so again, the communicating what is important to us, but this time instead of me, it's now, because over here it's 12th house, so it's probably um art, um intuition. It could be communicating the need for safety still, and what is important, because now we've got Venus ruled Taurus and Venus also in Capricorn, career ambition, top brass, government, communicating perhaps about dealing with better, finding better ways to deal with how to stay safe from hidden enemies. I guess that could be something. Um, because again, I'm looking at the houses. See, we've got 8th and 12th, shared resources, and the Pisces 12th house. What's hidden, you know? Um, Sort of seeing through the fog, the need to see through the fog, or maybe there may be um, things, communication may be a bit dreamy and sort of, um, how, because with trines as well, see, sextiles are opportunities that you can jump on and take up a new thing or whatever. Trines are sort of like that, but they're also very easy going, easy flow. And as I said before, that you can kind of be a bit lazy and sort of let it slide on by without actually working with it, if that makes sense. Um, so there's also that idea of perhaps with over here, it's 12th house, but it's not actually for everyone 12th house. I'm just trying to sort of explain with the addition of houses how it might look, and giving you examples over here of what has happened or what may happen, you know. But bottom line is being ambitious, again, communicating in an ambitious way, because they're both on top of each other pretty much, communicating in an ambitious way about what we emotionally value. And because Uranus is also in Taurus, there's the need for freedom, because here again we've got a trine going across there, but it's lighter. Uranus is retrograde, so it's looking at how we can be, more freedom with these situations, with these issues. But yeah, so I think that's all I want to say about this one. Yeah, just communicating about what we value. And like I said, these houses hit over here for this area. So you may have fifth house or 10th house or second or whatever in your area. And that will then put a different theme or flavor into the basic, Capricorn and Taurus themes. So with Capricorn and Taurus, I would say there's some sort of financial thing going on there too, I would guess as well. Because Capricorn, the career ambition and money values, Taurus, that's your second house is your money house, the Taurus house, right? The Taurus sign, it covers money and self-worth. I often say it's the basics, your physical, the physical world, what you value, items you value, your own vessel, your body, your physical body, you might value. You should value actually. If you don't, then you need to work on that one. But yeah, so the physical, what the tangible that we can value. Whereas Scorpio is the opposite of Taurus, where it's the shared resources that you share with others, but this can be personal resources, right? So being ambitious about what you value and perhaps being ambitious about financial choices, perhaps, you know, as long as you're not sort of, yeah, there's not really any, I mean, there's such a light square there that it's, not really making much of a difference. It's really the trines that are going on here. So as long as you're not making ridiculously foolish decisions, it's really an easygoing energy that perhaps you can really actually get ahead and make some really good decisions about perhaps financial things. Again, maybe a disclaimer, financial advisor, medical, financial, legal, whatever. Get the professionals. Maybe that might be it too. That the idea of looking into getting a financial advisor, which is going to really help things out. Look at the trines, bam. There's no red pretty much. I mean, yes, there's that very ever so slightly, but yeah. So again, I've forgotten to draw this, but yeah. Oh, goodness sake, sorry. that got messed up. I was trying to do it quick because I think I've covered this one enough. I worry that I kind of get a little bit sort of like a broken record and say the same thing over and over again. But yeah, anyway. So let's move on to I think we've covered, we needed to cover. Um, Other aspects are really pretty much the same as the previous charts. Again, this is the sextile with Neptune and Saturn sextiling Pluto and Mars. So again, that's an opportunity. And this is in Capricorn as well for some serious improvements, I would say, regarding Piscean themes. Being serious about how you present your art, perhaps, or because this is Pluto, so it can be about transformation. For instance, taking action on transformation. Maybe say you're an artist and you want to sort of show your art. being serious about that will be transformative. Taking that step, there's your opportunity, you know? Hopefully that makes sense. Anyway, I'm just trying to give examples of how it might play out and, how we can work with it, you know, in a real way. And I really am finding this annoying that I haven't lined things up. But anyway, it is what it is. Let's go. Anyway, next chart is okay. And this is the final one, I think. Yes. So now we've got Jupiter and Moon quincunx, Venus and Mercury. So there's the quincunx, Venus, Mercury. Ooh, for love of God. Oh, come on. There we go. Yep. Venus and Mercury. Now, Jupiter and the Moon. See, they're like 2 degrees away from each other. No matter what chart you're working with, they're still going to be in the sky in that, that far apart from each other. So Venus and Mercury still in Cap. At least this time I remembered to. So we've got a quincunx, so that's a big deal. You know, an opportunity for big change, but it's not going to come easily, I want to say. So as I'm looking at it, it kind of makes sense because there's emotional moon and Jupiter, as I touched on earlier, being in retrograde, the need to reassess or reassess how we communicate, whether we're the way we're communicating, whether it's too much or too little of something. And now we've got the emotional moon connected with that, with quincunxing both Mercury, the ruling planet of Gemini, and Venus, and they're both in Capricorn. So there's this ambitious career, ambitious higher ups, CEOs, that sort of thing. Perhaps they're communicating what they value to, because the Gemini themes, which I didn't touch on earlier, but it must have been a reason I didn't. But yeah, so because Gemini themes can be neighbors, siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, that sort of thing. The local travel, local communities. And so this is opposite, and it's a quincunx, so it's quite a hefty kind of tense energy. It can be quite tense. This could, like I've said, career ambition, boss like. It may not be a boss, it may be our need to be the boss of our own life, and communicating what we feel we need to feel safe, as I always say, how do we feel safe with communication around siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, neighbors, local communities? Do we, or maybe there's some sort of need for communicating about safety for the community, the local community, being ambitious about that, taking the lead, what and who we value, because this is still a degree apart from each other. Yeah, communicating, being ambitious or taking the lead in communicating or finding a balance, right? I'm trying to get to this, finding a balance, right, with how we emote, you know, in terms of the emotion we have within our communication, finding a balance with that, because it looks like it's going to be tough. Because sometimes with our emotions, we can just be blah, with Aries and be very forthright and me. But this is like something we're going to have to uh, take a bit of a step back and really work out the best way around, because it's although it's a excuse me, again, I talk about communication, I start coughing, sorry. I hope that didn't blast in everyone's ears. um but yeah, so it is going to be quite a tough energy, but when we take that that I was going to say opportunity, but I think there's some other word that would be better. I can't think of it right now. But if we take the chance, maybe, if we go with it, right? This is a tough energy, but what's at the end of it is like really transformation again, like Pluto transformation. It's going to be a big change. Maybe we need to speak up about something, where we've held back. See? Which side of the coin have we been, which side of the which end of the what's it called, the pendulum have we been? Have we swung too far with the communication, or haven't done enough, or kept quiet? Maybe we need to communicate how we emotionally feel about perhaps something or someone Capricornian that may feel oppressive, because that's another thing. Capricorn, Saturn, oppressiveness, um, and what and who we value. It might be ourselves, valuing ourselves, taking the lead in what we value and communicating in an emotional way, or pulling back with the emotions, or being a little bit more open with our emotions towards either someone or something that may feel oppressive. Or, like I said, it could be about the need to be a boss, to take the lead, not being oppressive. I don't mean that, but taking the lead and being the boss, but putting a bit of emotion into it and communicating to your local groups, neighbours, siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, that sort of thing, um, about your ambitions. It could be how you value your ambitions, the value you put on what you're ambitious about. And that can in itself have an emotional sort of vibe to it. But the idea of balancing that emotional side of things, um, but not sort of not getting over emotional, or not sort of blowing the stack like you would if it was in Aries. Um, but yeah, I think by taking a look at that, reassessing it, taking a chance and taking the lead, in a sense, being a bit more of the boss by working out the best sort of balance within how you communicate emotionally. Again, expansive. Are you expanding or contracting with that? See, that's Jupiter's energy. Reassessing this, you know? Um, but yeah, it may seem to be a bit of a struggle. It might be tough. It might seem to be a bit of a struggle, but if we can see it through, it's going to be transformative. So almost a Pluto energy in itself, if that makes sense. Standing up for ourselves, really. Where's Chiron? Yeah, look. sextile in Chiron, and there's the square there as well, um, with the moon and a little bit of Jupiter as well. So there's that sort of there as well, the challenge there, but the quincunx seems to be the stronger one, but it's very, very similar in the depth of color or whatever you want to say, but again, we've got this sextile being strong as well. So yeah, I think it's going to be quite healing, actually, to be honest. I think it's an opportunity if we can work out whether we need to, only we know, whether we need to be a little bit more emotional with our communication, like not, how do I put it, more emotional in terms of um not how do I put it? Not being like I don't know, a pool of tears or getting all upset or whatever, or just, you know, telling everyone everything, but being a little bit more open to being showing your emotions a little bit more, maybe something like that. Or if you do tend to get a little bit too aggressive with the opening of emotions, or if you're a little bit, say, Piscean and you're sort of, or Cancerian, um, and you're getting a little bit emotional there. But I think it's more communication, how you communicate, and putting some sort of emotion to it, because I think it's more about because you can say, so for instance, this is just a ridiculous example, but anyway, say you're communicating to, to others, expansive communication, to your groups, neighbors, uh, cousins, aunts, uncles, whatever. Say you say, "Oh, I really love a loaf of bread. I love loaves of bread." Well, you've put no emotion into that sentence, have you? But if you go, "Oh, there was this loaf of bread and it had this and it had that and it tasted so great." See the difference? you know, that there's a measure of working out the best way to add emotion to how you communicate about something that you value and that you're ambitious about. See what I mean? So I think that that's the main point. Friendships, what was I saying? Friendships, groups, social circles. All right. But yeah, no, siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, neighbors, local travel. This is also early learning. So, the young children, like preschoolers, that sort of small children, there might be something about that too, communicating about that you value that, and being ambitious. Maybe you want to start a little center or something like that for you know, get everything legally done and everything, because some people don't get everything covered like that. But yeah, if you're doing it legitimately and genuinely and honestly and safely, and it's for the benefit of the kids, or whoever's, or the uh, community, the local community, it could be starting up a community group, a local one, you know, being ambitious about whatever it is about, whatever theme it's about, how you value it, communicating that, and putting some emphasis, in an emotional way, which isn't overly emotional, where everyone gets sort of, and wants to pull away, but sort of, you know, I guess in a sense, advertising it maybe in a sense is needed. putting a spin on something, like certain advertisements will pull certain people in, while other as advertisements will repel people, um, and how you come across in that sense. Working out, assessing or reassessing how much emotion you put into it and how genuine you are about it. What do you value? Communicate that. Be genuine and authentic about it. Because I think this is again, it may be tough because it might be confronting to be a little bit vulnerable with your emotions, to let people know what is important to you, what you value, what means a lot to you, Sometimes that can be very confronting, you know, and that's where it may be like a bit tense and tough in that sense, but pushing through and working with that energy is going to be transformative, and it's going to work in your favor because we're still um, not yet hitting the full moon. So this is still in the final tendrils of the new moon, which is still new moon energy, like new moon happened already, obviously, by that date. But you know what I mean? Like we're getting the final tendrils of the last pieces of new moon energy before the full moon hits again. Um, and so I think this is a really good time to take advantage, even though it may be a bit confronting with this tougher energy. It doesn't have to be tough in a negative way. It can be um, empowering, I want to say, transformative and empowering because, hey, I spoke up about this. I put this energy and emphasis and emotion into what is important to me. Here, my throat's going again, see, because it's called talking about communication. And I'm picking up, that it may be scary to be like that, but that we need to really take a serious look at working with that energy because it's going to be transformative in such a good way if we're willing to take those steps and really um, look into, reassess how we include emotion with what is important to us, because that's going to transform things in a sort of Pluto way. But yeah, it's going to be transformative, but also very empowering once we get through this energy, if that makes sense. So I think I'm going to leave it there actually, because I think we've gotten um, what we needed to get through here. Um, so yeah, hopefully I've articulated all this good enough and given some examples of how you could use it and how it might play out for you personally. You again look at what houses to add that extra flavor to what these signs will be showing you. Um, yeah, and see what plays out for you and how you can work through that energy because that one's a big deal, a quincunx. But yeah, so I think we'll leave it there, and I'm going to wish you guys all the best of luck, as I always say, because I wish it for me too. Um, with working with all these energies for the rest of the month. Yeah, and until next time, bye for now.